Connecting to the Methernet. Methernet now connected.
This is the Wally and Methot Show Live. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally and Methot Show Live, brought to you by, as always, the cool, refreshing taste of whitewater beer. Pour yourself a Farmer's Daughter, Legion Lager, maybe a Blood Moon. Don't know which one to choose? Grab a sampler pack and mix and match. Visit shopwhitewater.ca and use the Wally and Methot coupon code for 15% off. Whitewater beer is brewed by friends for friends. I'm Brent Wallace, and he's my best friend, Mark Methot, 13-year NHL veteran. Meth, have you done your Wordle today?
We're not getting into that right now. You know what's more astounding to me is that people think other people actually care what your Wordle score is. I don't know what it's all about yet. I'm still trying to figure that part out, but it's not for me.
I've never played it, so I don't know what all the numbers mean, nor do I really care. But it's interesting that you have to post it on every social media channel to let people know what you got.
I know we're gonna piss off a lot of people right now because they're probably looking forward to posting their high scores or whatever. But it's annoying. Stop doing that, please. Okay.
Yeah. Later in the show, we've got we're going to give away our contest winner. We're going to provide them with a puck luck game. Stick around for that. Lots to come up in the show. The chat is open, and we'd also like it if you'd like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're just joining us for the first time. And now, without further ado, oh, by the way, I should point out, do you like the T-shirt, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know. I didn't want to interrupt you there. It actually, first of all, I'm a big Formenton fan. He's been playing fantastic lately, but it looks almost like a Slayer shirt. If you look at it really quickly, it looks like an old rock band shirt. I love it.
It's pretty good. So the boys at Tight Apparel sent this to me, and I appreciate it. I don't know if Alex is aware that I've scammed $25 over to his company, but I appreciate that this T-shirt. It's comfy. It looks good. It's got the race car feet on. So get to Alex Formenton later in the show. Lots to talk about with him. But let's just now bring in 14-year NHL veteran. And I feel like, Meth, it's time that we put him into the show, like in the title. Like when we have Bobby comes on, it's like, now here's the Wally Methot and Bobby show, right? Hey,
we
Bobby,
can't afford him, Wally. We can't afford him.
No, it's good. He's just got a new house. He's going to need all these stuff at Target.
Yeah, true.
Thanks for having me on,
Bob,
guys. Good to see
sir?
everybody again. Good. Sorry.
Good to see you've done a lot of
decorating. I didn't know my intro was over. Yeah. We're really
we can keep going
down here.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. Always good to be back with the fellas.
So before we get anywhere, can I ask about the Olympics and a lot of surprise that you weren't on the list? Did you have any inkling one way or another? Had you been contacted by USA Hockey?
I had, yeah. I spoke with, you know what? I never spoke with the management group. I spoke to David Quinn one-on-one. I've known him since I was 15, I guess, give or take. Kind of that age where you're deciding on the NTDP, the program, or the OHL. He was going to be the coach at one of those teams that I would have played for. So we've known each other. We've always, I've always thought really highly of him, and we had some great conversations early on. He did tell me that in 2018 they took a lot of players that weren't playing hockey that year, or at least a few, and those were the guys they were counting on, and those are the guys that shit the bed. So he said we're really looking at guys like that are playing in college hockey because they're playing the most hockey right now.
Yeah.
So in my only conversation, and I think I spoke with Meth about this, was like at some point you're going to need some pros, like guys that have played there, because you're going to go against Russia or a team, a team made of pros that are going to, you don't know how NCAA kids are going to react. You know how the higher end ones are for sure, but they're going to, push back. But that was my only thing. And I said, if you need a guy just to go and be your 12th or 13th forward and be a voice, I can do that. But, they chose to formulate their team one way, and I didn't fit that mold. So I see how it works out for them, I guess. But they got some good players. They got some some middle of the road guys. So hopefully those guys can score some goals, because that's
Well,
that's what you're going to need there.
yeah, and Bob, like, because I mean, I made a comment about it on social media because I know how much you were preparing for this. Like, you're about as healthy as you've ever been. You've been skating, you've been training, you've been eating well, and I thought,
Yeah.
and even more so now, I feel like my point is reinforced when I look at this list, and I know the boys popped it up here. I don't know any of these guys. Like, I obviously I know a couple of them, but there isn't a whole lot of namesake involved here, and I think what you would have brought is not only leadership, but you can still flat out play, right? And you can score, you can finish, you've got experience. Like, I can understand USA's reluctance to go with players that haven't necessarily been getting on the ice as much in actual games, but you nailed it right there. There's not a whole lot of veteran leadership or experience in that lineup. So, and I know you're not going to shit all over them because you handled it very classy there, and I can respect that. But I mean, if I'm building a list and I know that you've been skating lots, for me, it's a no-brainer. But I guess, I mean, you've already made your comments, so I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah. No, I had to Google
Well,
guys. I mean, I'm being honest. I had to Google guys, right? I didn't know, like, when I saw the list, the first week
100%.
list, I was like, who are some of these guys? And
Well,
yeah, it is what it is. It's that.
Yeah,
it's
well,
what they
I'm
went
a
with, so,
casual. I'm a casual. Like I don't know. Like, I'm not paying attention to the NCAA, but like, look at all these NCAA players. I don't know any of them. So when you're going to be facing a team like you just said, like Russia, for just as an example, like, how is that going to go? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think they're
Well,
going to.
Matthew, you're going to find out because aren't you playing?
Oh, true. Oh,
yeah, you'll
that
be there.
reminds me. Hey, Bobby, I heard, and I know Wally's probably well aware of this because he's been doing broadcasting forever, but because it's in China, you're like, so I think a lot of the personnel that are heading over there are being told not to bring any electronic equipment like cell phones or laptops because the fear is that they're going to get hacked almost instantly. So they're having to go over there with burners, right? And did you hear about that?
I didn't get far enough to get those instructions, obviously, but I have heard it, and like, if you get online every day, there's something new about what you can expect over there, and it's been over a week now. Actually, I think it's been a week to the day or 2 weeks since I don't know, who knows, whatever. But I'm like, this might be a blessing. Like, this might be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
But right after they announced the team, I flew home from Idaho and I got COVID and I was down and out. I was bad. But my agent, Pat Morris, was like, hey, like, do you want me to tell Team USA Hockey that you have COVID? Because now you're an attractive player in case they have to, like, get a new guy in there. And I'm like, no. I'm quarantining in my own guest bedroom right now. I'm on day 4. And he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm thinking no. So I took a full week off and I just kind of relaxed here. And now I'm getting back to hitting it. But I think I think we all are told at some point it's time to move on, and I'm getting to that point, and that's okay.
No, yeah. And I understand that. I know you have, just for conversation's sake, because I know, and not only with China, but with Russia now, with what's going on with Ukraine, and the Olympics are just around the corner. Yeah. Like, I've got, a little bit of a tinfoil hat moment here. Like, I think you're probably safer back here in the States. So we can all watch from a distance. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm not getting up at 3:00 in the morning to watch them play any of those games. But
that's right.
I mean, yeah. I'll catch some of the highlights, but yeah, no.
Okay, so
I don't know. It is, yeah, it's shitty.
Is that when all the games are, guys? Are all the games middle of the night?
Well, it's a 14-hour time difference, so it's
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but don't they accommodate that usually for like the larger viewing audience over in North America? Do they do that at the Worlds?
I wanted to say when I looked at the schedule, some of the games were like 5 a.m. for like our time. Yeah, but like the Worlds are usually like a 7 or an 8 hour difference, so you can kind of work around that. But 14 changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Good point. All right.
The Olympics, they start in 10 days for men's hockey, by the way. Now we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about NFL football. So,
yes. I don't know. I don't know if you should want to. Yeah. If there's one guy that doesn't want to talk about football, it's got to be you.
Yeah. So, I don't want to talk about the Cowboys, but that Chiefs-Bills game might have been the best game I've ever watched. And I only had to watch the last 5 minutes for the most part. But I feel bad for Josh Allen, who threw 9 touchdown passes in 2 games and moving on. As you're watching that, what are your reaction to seeing those two guys duke it out in the final 2 minutes?
It was like 188 yards of. It was 28 points, I think, in the last 2 minutes. There's 25. I can't remember. It was ridiculous. It was. I was up on the couch going nuts. My wife's like, "You don't have a horse in this race. Why do you care?" And I'm like, "Because we're watching the best football game. Like, we are watching probably one of the best football games we're ever going to get to witness." So I get like, I was loving it. You guys saw me tweeting about it a little bit. I'm a major Mahomes and Allen fan, so I could have gone either way with who won. I didn't care, but just watching the game, I mean, I don't like that Josh Allen doesn't get a chance to touch the football in overtime. I think that's ridiculous. There should be a rebuttal, but I mean, they had it locked at 13 seconds, and you gave up two huge plays to Kelsey and Hill. Like, you just can't let that happen. So the game should have been over. Allen deserved to win, but Mahomes, I mean, he's quickly becoming in the conversation for one of the best of all time, and he's got 10 years left, so it's going to be impressive.
It's wild.
So there's a coin flip. Is the coin flip like, what do you change then? This has been in place for years. So how do you? What's the answer?
Well, I think you still have the coin flip to see who gets the ball first, for sure, right? But the game's essentially lost on a heads or tails play. Like, that's what sucks.
Yeah.
I think
so. Maybe allow them to play out a quarter or something. Like, I don't know. I'm talking out loud.
Yeah,
here.
I don't even think you have to do that. I think if they go right down and score like they did, at the very least, Buffalo should have a chance to drive the field one time. And if they don't drive the field, go 4 and out, then that's the ball game, right? But I just think you shouldn't have a game end like that, right? Just straight there.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that's the rules. I agree with you there, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to see Josh Allen run the field one more time.
Yeah.
See, that I agree with. But then I'm like, and you brought it up. They're the number 1 defense in the league. They needed to make a play, and they didn't during the game. So are we supposed to now punish the rules because Mahomes drove the field and did what he had to do? Again, they should have made a stop in overtime. So I don't know if the rule needs to change. I just think the way they played it needed to change. But
fair.
My
fair.
team is sitting at home. Yeah. Also, one question about Jerry Jones, because Meth would never be able to answer this, is you must have watched the Dallas game, and then the sun is setting, and they've got that stupid glassed end zone where the sun is directly in the player's eyes. Who thought that building a 1 point whatever $1 billion building and putting up some windows where you can't see is a good idea?
I have no idea. Like, we know the sun sets in one direction, but we're just gonna window pane that side of the. Yeah, it was the best was Did you guys see the clip of the wide receiver post up when he's got his hands out like this? The ball just literally flies by him because he never saw it. Like, I mean, all he had to do was go like this. The ball's in his hands, and he just didn't. I was like,
poor guy.
Then he looked behind him, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay. But it's no different, Matt, and you can attest. You played in the new barn in Detroit, right?
Yeah, one game.
Little Caesars.
Yeah, and you might not remember this, but they always have ice issues there, right? Like, and it's for a $1 billion building, they ventilated the top wrong, and the ice is always shit. I mean, it's always bad. There's just, you'll get a good day, but then the weather changes just a tiny fragment, and then it goes south.
It's funny you say that. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I still remember, because I used to bitch all the time if the ice was bad in pregame warm-up, it drove me nuts. Because, like, handling the puck was off, skating felt a little more, like, strenuous, you know what I mean? And that was my first thought getting off the ice after warm-ups in Detroit when I was with Dallas. I was like, this is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I only played there for a year and played a bunch of obviously games against them, with Ottawa and whatever. But you just never knew what you were going to get. You could step on the ice any day, any given day, and you're like, oh, we're in one. We're like you just we're hoping for a good day. So
fair enough.
That's going back to the buildings. You just make one mistake in a $1 billion building, and it messes everything up.
I got lots of, and the one I've never asked you, and I want to take this chance, and you might just hang up the phone. But when Erik Karlsson was rumored to be being traded and on the move and whatnot, your name came up with Tampa to be part of that deal. Did you have any idea of any of that stuff? Did anyone ever come to you with trade proposals that you looked at or whatever? I'm just curious of how that all played out, because we never actually, I don't think anyone has ever talked to you about it.
No, nobody in the organization. My agent was kind of always giving me the, hey, there's a possibility you're linked to, and Tampa was one. And I remember thinking Tampa, you know, I don't know, I don't even need to waive anything, but I'll go to Florida real quick. Like when it's late February, early March, and
Oh,
you're looking
100%.
outside and you're like, it's, double park a day. And they're like, hey, we might be, throwing you in. You might be the throw-in deal, and you're going to Florida. You're looking at that going, this it's pretty appealing at the moment, but
Yeah.
nothing ever really progressed past that, because obviously my cap hit was devastating for any kind of trades out of there. So, the contract is only going to end two ways, in the buyout or an expiring contract. But the one I saw, your next question in the rundown was going to be like, were there any other places? And I remember Vegas being like that deadline, the same deadline with Carl. My name was thrown in the Vegas stuff a lot, and that was another one where I'm like, I could probably make that work too. Just based, just based on weather. But I was like, as good as Carl was, nobody would trade for him, because I was the anchor.
Did you guys ever discuss that, you and Carl? Did you ever joke about it?
Very little. Yeah. I mean, Carl plays that stuff really close to his chest and doesn't really say much. But I would always be like, I'd walk in for a couple weeks there, and I was like, Carl, where are we going? And he's like, I don't know. And that would be the end of the conversation, because he wouldn't elaborate. Yeah. And the best part was, I was like, Carl, I know everything you know, because we have the same age. He's calling you, getting off the phone, and calling me. We're in, right? We're getting the same information. So I know probably a little less than in the grand scheme of things, because you're the person people are trying to trade for. But I was like, I'm still pretty involved here, right? Like, I still had a little bit of protection in my no trade clause and stuff like that. So I was getting some phone calls, but nothing really ever seemed to materialize past just conversation.
I know that you never miss an episode, but in case you did, last week, Meth brought up about signing his new contract and negotiating with Brian Murray. And I was curious, and then so he was asked if he was better than Alexei Yemelin. You signed at the time the biggest contract in Sens history. I was curious what the negotiation was like for you, and how different it probably is when you're talking $50.75 million.
So it was really weird. It was like a week before that, where I think they had offered like 7 by 6'5" or something along those lines. And Matt, you know more about this stuff, or a lot about the comparables. Obviously, you're talking about Emelin as a comparable for yours. Like my comparables, based on the 430 goal seasons and things that I had done, and then even the first year in Ottawa, I was a point per game guy until the hernia. So like all my comparables added up to guys making between 7 and 9, and I was very, very clear that I did not want 9. I was like, I don't really care to go into the 8s. Like I was like, at a certain point, enough's enough. But we had turned down the 6.8, and it wasn't like a full contract offer. It was just like, we're not going there thing. My agent didn't tell me that they had made a counter, but they did. And I come in one day, Eugene's there, Brian Mary's there, and Brian Mary, we're going to give you the contract. And I said, oh, okay. And that was it. That was the whole conversation. I didn't know what the contract was. Had zero clue, right? Hadn't talked to my agent. Right? This was after a practice on my way out. He's like, we're going to give you the contract. And I just said, okay. And I left without signing it. I didn't know I was signing that day. I got home, was sitting on the couch, told my wife, I said, I think we just signed, but I'm not sure how much, and I don't know for how long. Couldn't get it. Like Mark Guy was my agent. Couldn't get anybody on the horn. And then Pierre calls me. He's like, you need to come back and sign the contract. And I was like, just so we're clear, what am I signing for? And it was 7 point, what, I don't even know, 2.25, give or take. And I was like, no shit. Okay. All right. I'm on my way. Like, I'll come back. But I was more mad about the fact that I had to get back in the car and drive back. But like, it just felt like there was like Brian thought I knew that I was signing. My agent probably just didn't get in touch with me, because we were coming right off the ice. And it was just one of those things where I was like, I drove all the way home, was having lunch, and had to turn around and go back. It was a weird day.
That's awesome.
It was just,
so there was no weird Brian Murray questions of who are you better than?
No, I think, I don't know, Matthew probably stayed out of yours as much as you could too. I literally had nothing to do with mine. I think the most conversations I had ever had with anybody based on the extension was, would you stay? And I was very adamant about the fact that you don't know how many chances at free agency you're ever going to get. Like, I played, the better part of 15 years, whatever it is. I had one, and I was 33 when I got that opportunity. So I kind of wanted to explore. Like, I wanted to get there, and I had always said to Ottawa, like, I'll give you guys every opportunity, but at a certain point you want to see, right, what other teams think of you, what's out there. But then you get a number that you just go, yeah, I'll make this work. Like that was one of those contracts where you're just like, how do you not, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're dangling that little carrot in front of you. You're like, I got to get that.
Yeah. Especially, and then like the big thing was the bonuses were everything, right? Like that's what every player wants. And when I don't think they gave anybody else bonuses right now because I so badly dinged them. Unfortunately,
I think you're the last guy to sign a contract with bonuses. Like Zaitsev has them, but I think he's got them from Toronto. I think you were the last guy. Yeah. They don't like to pay out those July 1st bonuses.
No.
Yeah.
Smaller market teams typically don't, right? It's like, and don't they say it's sort of a team policy here? Like, isn't that sort of their thing?
Of course, it's a team policy.
I know.
There's lots of things that are team policy that doesn't make a lot of sense.
These guys looking for contracts must hate me right now. They're like, Bobby Ryan, just 100% signing bonuses to the ground. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I apologize.
It's the Bobby Ryan rule.
Josh Norris is going to score 40 and not get a bonus.
What is Josh Norris worth?
Oh, man, I don't know.
If you're paying Drake Batherson 5.
Yeah, but Drake's underpaid. Like, so underpaid.
Totally. But how do you compare? So you're going to use a comparable, right?
Yeah.
Does Drake fall into the comparable?
No.
Like,
Did he sign a 6-year deal?
$2 million more.
Yeah, 6-year deal at was it 5?
4.95 or something.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Criminal.
Like he's an all-star. He's an all-star. He's an all-star.
What a deal!
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
Good for the Sens.
Yeah, if you're Josh though, if you're Josh Norris and you score 40 goals, you're going to them saying, "I want 7," right?
Oh, at least no.
Yeah, you have to think. I don't know what his mindset, or I don't know who his agent is, if he's got an aggressive one or a guy that just wants to get him locked up. But you guys know there's so many moving parts in that stuff. He might just want some security and move on. He might want a short 3-year bridge deal because he's like, if I'm going to be playing with this same group for 3 more years, I might be a 50 goal scorer by the time said and done.
Yeah.
So who knows? But like, you got to think he's looking at 7.5. That's my guess.
Yeah, and you mentioned like there are a lot of variables. A big one is the players' like mentality, right? Like for me, I mean, I didn't have the balls to go to free agency because I'm just like, I just want my security. That's all I could focus on, right? Some guys are very like, kind of conservative fiscally when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I certainly fit that bill. Whereas some players have so much confidence in themselves that they're like, I'm good. Like, I'll just go to free agency. And that makes you so deadly when it comes to negotiating, right? Like Kachuk was a good example.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, I ain't coming.
Yeah.
Just give me what I want, then maybe I'll show up. And that's what happened, right? So maybe you got to understand the player first. And that's something that I don't think fans always get a hold of. But anyway, we'll see. I still think I'm with Bobby. I think he's at least 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got a 40 banger in your wallet, you're looking at 7.5.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. I still think that's low. I'll be honest, I think that's still pretty low. Like if you're a number one center scoring 40 goals and you're known for your two-way play, right? Like he's not just one-dimensional.
Yeah.
He plays both ways very well. He's good defensively. Like, come on. Like if Josh, if you're listening, man, you at least 8.
Pierre's going to be knocking on your door here, pal.
I know. Just what, but we're like, it's the game, right? And this is fun to talk about it. And I think like being former players, like you always want to see the player get what he deserves, right? Like good for him. So I don't care if I'm playing against you or with you, and that sets a precedent for other comparables moving forward with other deals. So it's other players around the league that are looking at Josh Norris too and saying, do not cave and sign for 7. Like, you stick it out, right?
Very true.
So anyway.
Yeah, very true.
So then let me ask, because Bobby, you go from your Anaheim deal was, I think, 5 years, $5 million to this one. Does your mindset change where you now feel that you've got to score 30 goals a season because you're now, at the time, I think you were the highest paid senator? How much does your mindset change?
Yeah, considerably, I would say. And then, not just that, the pressure from the internal pressure. I mean, the outward pressure is one thing. You can kind of tune most of that out if you do things correctly, but the internal pressure mounts very, very fast. And I think the next year I started off pretty good, and felt okay about my game, but I hit like a cliff and fell off that cliff offensively. And like, when you can't justify your contract because you're getting paid to score and you're not scoring, and then you break a couple hands and fingers, and then you're just like, oh my God, I'm never going to shoot the same thing. Just things don't feel right. The internal pressure mounts. And that was the hardest part for me. I was never one of those guys that set like, I want 28 goals to 35 goals. Like, I didn't really feel that way. I just knew, like, if you have an impact on the game offensively, whether or not you're on the score sheet, but you create all night and you're down below the top of the circles, like, I could live with those things. But I got to a point where I just wasn't doing any of them really. Honestly, I couldn't get anything right for a pretty extended period of time there. So, looking back, I wish I had known now what I did then and had a little more resolve and patience with myself. But that's hindsight. Hindsight in hockey is everything, right? It's like, if I could go back, I'd have been the MVP 2 or 3 of the years that I played. I would have made a lot of different plays here and there. But that's why I don't think I could scout, because I'm like, I don't know about you, Meth, but I get so critical of guys, and I'm like, why doesn't he see that? And I'm like, I got this bird's eye view looking down from the rafters. Wow. As a scout, you're just especially like, it's so much easier, especially for skilled guys like yourself. I find you see that when Wayne, for example, was a coach, right? Could you imagine being Wayne Gretzky and having to coach a bunch of guys and a certain player not seeing a play, right? And thinking like, how the F can you not see that out there? But meanwhile, you forget that you're an exceptional hockey player when you did play. So, I think that's why you see a lot of like stay-at-home D-men and fighters like turn into coaches and stuff, because the game's a little more dumbed down for us, and we can accept like the mistakes. Whereas you see the game so much differently, especially offensively, right? So I think there's a huge difference. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
I actually going to ask about a young player watching from the press box in 1 sec. So we're going to switch to Senators Chat now, brought to you by sportsinteraction.com, Canada's online casino and sportsbook. sportsinteraction.com/Wally and Methot for the most competitive odds and live daily betting. Sports Interaction is Canada's online casino and sportsbook. JBD, by the way, sent down today, Jacob Bernard Docker, back to Belleville. There's a lot of talk about him playing of late. He didn't play against Columbus. He only played 13 minutes the night before against against Washington. Meth, are you surprised they're sending him down and it's not that paper trail they've been doing with trying to keep his money off the books and using him on the taxi squad?
Yeah, I was surprised. I know Bobby's probably not watching a ton of JBD, so this is a good question for me, of course. I was watching him. I thought he played really well in Pittsburgh. He was playing with Shabbat, which helps, but I like his instincts. When I'm watching him play, he seems to make the right decision oftentimes, and that's a big thing in hockey, right? Like when you're watching a player, that's the difference between an NHL player and an American League or an East Coast League player. It's like being able to have good hockey sense, some physical element as well, and then obviously being able to apply it with confidence, et cetera, et cetera. I think JBD fits that bill, and he only played 13 minutes in Wash. That was a bit of a tough game for him. So he gets sent down. I'm okay with it. I remember being a young defenseman, and Bobby's on the other end of the spectrum where skilled guy goes right into the NHL. It's a little different with me, and especially with a lot of defensemen, it takes a little bit more time to develop. With JBD being more of a defensive-minded guy too, just getting more ice time and reps. You can't have a 21-year-old in the NHL playing maybe 10 minutes a night, maybe getting scratched every other night. So it's a good opportunity now for him to go down, play a little bit more. I'm actually okay with this. I can be critical sometimes of seeing a good player get sent down. In this case, it makes sense. I don't really have any issues. This is just a young player that needs more development.
The one question I have, Matt, is he ready for the NHL? I think he's ready for the NHL, but you want to make sure that you develop him and get him to that ceiling where you foresee him getting to, right? Like you don't want him to come up and then plateau somewhere well below where you would expect him to be playing at. You want to make sure that his confidence is still high. A young player,
who he seems pretty quiet too. His demeanor makes a difference too, right? He seems like he's a very intelligent young man. He's probably hypercritical of his own game. If you have that kind of guy, I was kind of like that too. Maybe not overly intelligent, but very critical of my own game. I had a really good self-awareness of where I was. And that happened to me when I was in Columbus. I'd play for a couple games and I could just feel it. You can just feel it. Yeah. Like game after game, you're starting to regress a little bit. You can feel pressure mounting and you're almost waiting for the GM to call you into the office and be like, hey, Meth, we're going to send you down now. Like I remember feeling that way at times. And it was almost in some weird way a relief to go down and then feel comfortable again, where you're like, you're the guy, right? You're the good player again. Certainly the paycheck sucks, but you're going to go down there and you're going to play more. You're going to feel better about your game. And then they call you back up when you're feeling good about yourself. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen with JBD. And they've got a great coach down there that can help him progress that way.
So Bobby, the question I have for you is, watching from the press box and what you see differently, does it have an impact on you guys as players? We always talk about, they're going to watch for the night, but some people like, it doesn't really matter. Does it matter for guys, for the most part, being able to see the game at a different vantage point?
I think for a young guy, for sure. Yeah, I think but this is the thing, you don't want him doing that for more than a game or two, because he's 22, 21. I don't know. Yeah. He's young. I mean, there is, there's no reason to have him up there every night, but to go up there and get a view of it and I guess see the game differently a little bit. What I was going to, and I agree with Meth, is that when defensive defensemen get to the league, they will get there eventually. Like they're going to be longer for sure, but once they get there, they're never going to get sent down and their role is never going to change. And I think he fits the same bill as you, Meth, in the sense that the game's going to slow down for him at some point. I don't know if that's the 30 game mark, the 50 game, that changes for everybody. But when the game slows down and he just gets it and he settles in, he's gonna take off for the organization in that defenseman role. But sometimes it can be overwhelming, especially when you're on the road. You don't get your matchups, all those things that don't put him in a position to succeed add up. It's better for him to go down. So you can take a little bit of away from being up in the press box, but you don't want him up there for a long period of time at 21 years old. Get him down, let him go play 25 minutes down, be the best player, and then come back.
Agreed. And that's exactly, I just one more point to that with the press box thing. I mean, as a veteran, you're on your phone. You're not watching. You don't care. Like, yeah. I'm telling you right now, like when I was in Dallas, I mean, it was different because I was hurt, but I didn't want to go up and watch the guys play in the press box. I was either in the gym or getting treatment or talking to some of the guys. Like you don't give a shit. And then obviously when you're a player and you're really young, and this is exactly where I agree with Bobby, small doses, because you can't have them rotting up there watching hockey all the time. It's not going to do anything for him. So it's more, I think you're better off playing him a few games. And then, if he's not progressing or he seems to have peaked a little bit, then you pull him aside, you talk to him, you give him some nice comforting messaging saying that he's been doing very well, but we're going to send you down. We're going to let you progress down there. And that's what they're doing. So I'm a fan of the move.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got
I want to
guys
ask about
there,
practices.
There's no rush.
There's no rush. Agreed.
Okay. So they're going to play now. Ottawa returns home, plays 8 of the next 9 at home, but they're going to finish out 47 games in the next 94 days.
Oh,
can you two explain to me how taxing this is going to be? Not just to play, but to actually play at a high level and continue to be Josh Norris trying to go for 40 goals or whatever it is. Like, I can't imagine night in, night out of trying to make this work. Like, are injuries going to be a factor down the stretch here? Bobby, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, with that many games in that little time, there'll be some injuries. There'll be some guys banged up. Honest to God, at that point, you might just see some guys get a break, like a maintenance game, because they're not making the playoffs. I think I read a quote by DJ talking about the development's going to be the most important part, and practices are huge for that. 47 and 94 is too much to be. They're going to practice hard because that's going to be the messaging that's going to be coming down from the top, right? And that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
Correct.
With that many games and that many days, unless you have 3 days in between, maybe once or twice, you get a hard practice in. The conditioning's going to be there. they're going to go through some ups and downs for sure. But at the same time, like you can't have hour practices.
No.
And not with your top guys. They have to be on the ice for 25 minutes to flush the lactic acid out. And then you're going to get on a bird and you're going to go somewhere else and do it again. Like you're going to get better through games at this point. That's the only way. Practices are going to be almost useless because guys are going to be exhausted and they're not going to want to be there. Bring them in for video, put them on the bike for 20 minutes and get out, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that's
how many practices are you going to have?
Well, Bobby just said a really good point there where, and it kind of answers your question there, Wally. I think for me, at this point with all these games, and they're not going to be making the postseason, you almost just have to treat some of the players differently. No player is the same at this point, right? So if you're a fourth line guy and you're playing 7 minutes or whatever, he's got to practice. He's got to get on the ice and pregame skate, right? You obviously don't want to overwhelm them because mentally it can be very taxing as well. So I don't know that there's a science for this yet, like where anybody's figured it out in the NHL. But from our experience, Bobby and I have been there with Boucher, and like I love not having to practice. Like when I was playing a lot and I could just focus on games, I felt fresh, I was engaged, I was excited to play. And then when a practice would come around, you just kind of roll your eyes and be like, okay. My concern will be, and that's another point. This is my concern, and this is where Bobby brought up, will be the messaging from up top. So because sometimes coaches and GMs get way too caught up in, like, for example, pregame skates, right? They'll think, okay, we got to go really hard here for 30 minutes and then we're going to get off the ice. It's like, no, you shouldn't go very hard for 30 minutes. You're going out there to loosen up, get a feel for the puck, and then getting the F off the ice. You're not out there to get it stronger or faster. It's not going to happen, and you're going to be fatigued at game time. So there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to navigate through and factors involved here. And I think when it comes down to it, it's like rest is going to be a weapon. I hate saying that cliche that the Boucher always used to use, but rest is an absolute weapon in this case. But you also don't want your fourth line guys, your third pairing defenseman to get stale from playing 8 minutes a night and then not practicing. So maybe you play and practice those guys a little bit more and bring them in afterwards. But yeah, this is lose-lose for everybody. You're going to see injuries.
Yeah, you're going to see, and you're going to see you'll see a lot of optional skates where DJ will walk in, say optional, knowing his third and fourth line guys are going on, but then he's going to Drake. You're not going anywhere today. You're just go home. Get ready for tonight.
He's got to go. He's got to go to Stutzle. He's got to go to the young guys and say, don't skate. He has to tell them. Otherwise, they're going to feel inclined to go out there and do it just to appease their masters and their overlords.
Mm-hmm. I remember Guy used to beg me not to skate, right? Like, because I never took an option. Like that.
I know you loved it.
Exhausted. I liked when the entire team didn't go on the ice and I could go out there and shoot and do things differently.
Yeah.
And maybe Andy was out taking shots because he had a night off or whatever. Like that, those were the days that I wanted to be on the ice because I felt like I got more out of it than running routes in a practice, and doing Canada Cup for 20 minutes and things like that. I felt better.
Flow drills.
But Guy, I remember he used to be like, dude, can you just take one day off? And I'm like, I can't, Guy. Like I don't move well. My body needs to go out. And I was skating with the Black Aces. Do you remember that? We had like 3 days off in between series, and I went and skated with the Black Aces, and we played like the hardest 4-on-4 game I've ever played. And I remember D Domenico was like, "What are you doing?" Or the guys were like, "Go home." They're like, "We're here Black Acing. We've been on a bender because we don't do anything but work out and skate." And I'm out there, and I'm like, I don't smell like booze, and all these guys do. This is great.
I was going to say, the Black Aces are all rolling in. They've had a night out at like Junction or wherever they're out. And the room smells like Grey Goose. And Bobby's there being a hero, making them all look stupid in practice. Oh, well, good on you. But I respect that because you knew what you needed to do to feel good in games. Like I knew for me, especially being more physical and stuff, I'm like, I need to just rest. My shoulders are sore. My back is sore. Like, but some players need, like Bobby, the skilled guys, they need to feel the puck. So that's where, like we said earlier, I know I'm repeating myself, DJ has to go to guys like Formenton and Stutzle and Norris, like some of these younger players, and say, listen, guys, take a break. We got a game tomorrow night. So hopefully they approach it that way.
Is the most underrated person in all the organization the team masseuse guy?
Sean Markwick. He is a legend.
I was like, Mitchie. Yeah.
Mitchie.
One of my favorite people in the organization. Yeah.
So the sign of a good massage therapist is one that's actually excited to do work on you. I've had some that are always reluctant to just kind of like, they're not as enthusiastic. I'll give Shawnee this. Sean was always excited and professional and wanted to do his job properly, and I commend him for that.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Awesome.
He's a good dude. Okay, moving on because I'm way behind. We only have 20 minutes
we'll
left
speed up our answers. That's me.
Out.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to EB Games. Brought to you by BEI, Bonisher Excavating Inc. BEI specializes in excavation, grading, drainage projects, also equipment rentals, aggregate and tiles. Visit BonisherExcavating.com. BEI and their big blue trucks helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Okay, this is a hot button topic, Meth, that seems to come up on every show. So we'll see what Bobby has to say, and that's Eric Brannstrom. Has he arrived, as DJ likes to say? And I will like to point out, DJ will always say great things that are big about every player just to make sure their confidence is up. So when DJ says a lot of stuff, I don't put a lot of stock in it. However, Eric Brannstrom went from just under 17 minutes in his first 5 games this season to now he's playing 21 and a half minutes. Is he, or has he finally, and I don't know how much you've seen of him lately, Bobby, has Eric Brannstrom finally arrived? I still think his defensive game is not where it needs to be.
I watched the Pittsburgh game. I thought he was phenomenal in the Pittsburgh game.
Agreed.
I would say the same thing. I still don't know what he's going to be. Is he gonna? I mean, you're always gonna have Chabby on the first unit on the power play. I don't know if he's gonna be your second unit power play guy that really can run it. He's got a lot of poise with the puck. So I certainly think he's a full-time NHLer at this point. But yeah, you have to remember, I don't know how tall he is. I mean, he's small. He's gonna have struggles defensively, right? So he's just gotta figure out how to do the positional stuff that, kind of be a fly as a defenseman. So there's room to grow for sure, but he's really impressed me lately. I thought very highly of him in that Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, I'm with Bobby. I know, and I've been critical. I think fairly critical at the right time, especially at the start of the season and in training camp. I totally agree with Bobby's assessment. I don't even know really what to add to that. I don't know what he is yet either. And I think instead of just reassessing his game, because again, I don't want to parrot everything Bobby just said. If you look at their lineup right now on D, with obviously, I don't see Mete being here in the future. Obviously, I think most people would agree with me. I don't want that to be too contentious, but let's assume that Clevin at some point over the next 2 seasons comes in, and then you've got Sanderson who comes in. What happens to Brannstrom? That's my question.
You got to figure, you got to figure out who your odd man out's going to be eventually.
Exactly.
Right? You got a lot of guys, man.
And Bobby, it's tough because I know a lot of fans are high on Brannstrom. They love him. He's a likable player, and I love the way he's been playing lately too. My only concern is where does he fit in this lineup moving forward? He's not going to be paired with Thomas Chabot. Like, I've got news for people. That doesn't work. Like, there's zero physicality or stabilization on that line in the D zone. It's not going to happen. So JBD is a player that obviously isn't on the list right there, but he just got sent down. You got to think he's going to be a full-time NHL next year. Then you got Jake Sanderson coming in. He's going to be a full-time NHLer. Hell, he might even be a full-time NHLer in a month or two whenever he comes up. So I'm reluctant to jump on this bandwagon because I don't know where he fits in the depth chart. So although I do like where his game's at right now, my concerns are his size, as Bobby just mentioned. Defensively, you saw him get exposed in the Columbus game as a prime example. At times in the Washington game, I thought he was very good against Pittsburgh, but they're not overly that physical, so it wasn't a surprise. Although I love where his game's at now, long-term, I don't know that I can picture him here with the Sens. I could be wrong.
Well, if they want to be a playoff contending team, I don't know that Eric Brannstrom is the type of defenseman that's going to help you where you need to be that physical, grueling, grinding.
But I want to, Wally, and I love that you brought that up because I want to make it clear. I'm not saying we need a bunch of big mutants that can't move the puck back there. I'm not advocating for that. And I use this as an example the other day. I know it's tough because Letang is an elite defenseman overall throughout his career, but and I'm sure you could add to this, Bobby. It's not about the size. It's about your compete that gritty chippiness at times when you need to have that. Like Letang is an example of not a big guy that can play big sometimes, right? So Brannstrom is 5'7". Like he's not 5'9". He's 5'7", maybe 5'8". Like he's very small. So unfortunately, that will affect your ability to defend in the D zone. So I don't know. Like if you played with anybody, Bobby, that wasn't maybe the biggest guy in the world. Well, Beauchemin, you played with Beauche, right?
Yeah, it was a great example there. Yep. Yeah, not the biggest guy, but you didn't want to go in the corner with him, right? So and he was chippy and he was feisty. And when you're, I don't know if he's 5'6" or 8" or what he is, but I mean, you can eat an apple off his head. He's not a big guy. He's gonna he's gonna get leaned on. He's gonna get leaned on. Guys are gonna be 220 and 230 in front of the net, and that's gonna happen. But I still think he's an NHL defenseman. I just don't know where he fits.
100%. I agree. Yeah, and I don't want to rip on him. Like I'm not trying to rip on him here. I'm just talking about
I like him.
That decor.
I like him.
You know, like, and I say this because I don't know. Okay, so let's assume Josh Brown's not here, who is pretty much the only. Well, maybe Holden's strong and physical too, but I'm talking about maybe a little bit more of that edge. Brown probably won't be here, so like, look how soft that decor is going to be for the most part. So if you're playing in the playoffs and you look at the past few seasons, all the top teams leading up from the conference final to the Stanley Cup finals have had big decors for the most part. So it's like, you know, like what blueprint are we working off here? You know, like, is this going to be a one-off where you have a bunch of skilled guys that can make it work? Maybe, but I don't see it. I think they're still missing a little bit of physicality on the back end. And with Brannstrom and company, it's just a little too small.
I completely agree, but fun to watch. So as long as we don't, well, none of us get a ring if the Sens win or lose the Stanley Cup, so it doesn't really matter.
No, we don't.
I want to ask you, here's a Brannstrom on a breakout. Like the kid can move the puck really well. There's
100%.
There's no doubt in my mind. And that makes it entertaining. But I do want to ask you about Josh Norris's OT gaffe in the Washington game. If you're a player and you've got a chance to win this hockey game and you see that happen, either one of you saying anything to Josh about not going
Bobby,
up the boards?
you got this. I never played OT. The one OT shift I had with Ottawa, I dumped it and chased. So, Bobby, you can take it.
I didn't play it much either, to be honest. I just remember I used to just dry my gloves and wait for the shootout. But I literally just grabbed the towel, put my gloves on the dryer, and waited. But everybody's going to talk about what he did, and he's last man back. He's got to get rid of that puck, but he got hung out to dry. It was a no look pass that was in Brannstrom's feet. He didn't make a clean pickup, and he kept going. And didn't, and just kept the speed. So Josh gets a puck and has, people are like, oh, I had enough time to get to the backhand to try it. Like, he did, and maybe he should have just pushed that puck up the wall. But that second that we see is a lot less to him. He's getting that puck and he's going, holy hell. And even if he beats Backstrom there, Obi's right behind him. I think he got hung out to dry it. I think he should have moved the puck. Yes, but I don't hang that just on Josh Norris. He picked up a puck that wasn't meant for him, right? Like it was a bad pass, an overskate, and he's the last man back, and he gets dinged. But that being said, if I'm Josh Norris, I'm probably just throwing that up the ice and living the fight another day and hoping one of my guys gets to it. But there was three bad plays on that.
Agreed.
I'll go to Tim Stutzle's goal. Did you guys see Tim Stutzle's goal against Columbus last night? And Bobby, if you did see it, you're a pretty good goal scorer in your day. So your thoughts on that goal?
Yeah, love the hands. I love the move. I love everybody else talking. He went to his backhand. The forward motion to freeze the goalie, especially at that speed. Very, very impressive goal. I liked everything about it. He froze the goalie and got to his backhand and then elevated the puck just enough. It was a great goal.
Perfect. But that's the confidence thing, right? That's a confidence type goal for you.
100%. Yeah. When you're feeling that, those things come natural, and he looks really good right now.
Yeah, and he's so good.
Of looking good. Go ahead.
Hey, man. Wally, just my only thing on Stutzle, because I can't chime in on the finishing, like that's Bobby's department. But he's so good in the middle of the ice. Like I love that he's thriving now in the middle. Like you can see he's one of those guys that has that special playmaking ability where he's a really good skater and his head's up the whole time. Like he's not looking down at the puck. So for at that age to have that much confidence through the neutral zone and being able to see weaknesses or addressing where maybe there's an area you could pounce on, which he did. I mean, that makes him a dangerous player. So I'm happy to see him finally finally finishing, right? Now that he's finishing, this is just going to make him more confident. So he's going to be a dangerous player.
Agreed.
Moving on to Alex Formenton, by the way, who has 3 shorthanded goals in his career, which is the exact same number that one Bobby Ryan has. You scored your last shorthanded goal almost 10 years ago to the day, January 22nd against Colorado. Ended up with a game-winning goal that game also. You had a pair that night. What do you see in Alex Formenton's game?
I was still playing for Anaheim. I again, here's another one where I've seen. I don't know why I get so many Sens pop ups. Probably because I follow you guys and some of the players and stuff. So Sens stuff gets pushed down. There a lot of people calling for him to be a top 6. I don't know that you get that out of him long term. But he looks damn comfortable playing it right now, and I think he's gonna be a very flighty, inconsistent forward that's gonna get you points. But you know what you're gonna get everywhere else from him every night. So I've been a big Formenton fan. I played with him on a line when he was getting his 9 games that one year before he got sent down. Really liked his game. Works on both sides of the puck at all times, and then I mean it's nice as another guy on his line. That and Chris Tierney and him and I played together. We were not fast. Like we had to consistently tell him to slow down and practice on 3-on-2s. So like I'll never forget Chris Tierney when he like we're getting ready for practice one day and we see the line and it was posted. It was a 3-on-2 drill and Tierney looks at me and he goes, Tell this kid to slow the F down. He's like, let's all enter the zone together. Let's all get there. And I was like, he knows one speed, man. But it is comforting to know that you can throw that puck across the ice and he's got a chance at every one of them. So I really like his game. Don't know that he's always going to have the offensive contribution that he's having right now. But if he continues to score on breakaways, he's going to be an 18 to 24 goal scorer. I think I could see that for him comfortably, which I guess would put you in the 6 to 9 conversation, right? The top 6 to 9 at all times. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great description. What Bobby said there. So it's the best. That's the best assessment I've heard of Formenton's game. Cause a lot of people will like fawn over a player when he starts to get a little bit of momentum. All of a sudden he's this, he's arrived now. He's a second line player. I think Alex Formenton is going to be, I think he's already kind of there. His role in this, I still stand by this. He's going to be an elite penalty killer and a third line threat that can play good minutes and be that guy to jump up in the lineup if you need him to on any given date when there's injuries. But like, the fact that he's finishing now, like a little bit on these breakaways, which of course he's going to learn over time. He gets so many of them. Really, is going to make him a much more well-rounded player. But DJ had a comment about him where he's noticed, and I agree with DJ on this, where he's noticed that Formenton's really been improving in the cycle. So like he's always been really good straight line, but then making those little pop plays, which by the way Bobby was a wizard at. Down low in the cycle where you can make which is very hard to do. It's one of the hardest things to do in the game as a player, finding those little soft spots with, having that vision to make a nice 10-foot pass through a couple bodies or sticks. You're starting to see Formenton kind of get the hang of that, which is great. But I'm with Bobby. I still think he's going to be an elite third line player if he keeps progressing the way he is. And that's a compliment. That's not saying that he can't be a second line player, but where he's at now and based off of what we're seeing, that's fair.
Yeah. And he can jump up. You can use him in every role.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, quickly, a couple of fun things.
Want some money.
Yeah. That's another
thing.
I was going to say, you got to pay the man. Pay the man his money.
Yep. Okay. I don't really want to show this picture, but I'm going to have to just so you guys can appreciate. If someone got a tattoo of Josh Norris's mug.
That's
it's
great.
Just awful. Across his abdomen. It doesn't even look like it.
What a beauty. And
tattoo.
He's got the Grinch. He's got the Grinch above him too. Yeah. Who is this guy?
I don't know. And I don't
how did I not notice that?
I don't know. It's unreal.
Yeah. he asked for a jersey. I don't know how this all plays out, but my point is, what would you do if someone got a tattoo of your face on them? Bobby, let's start with you. You have a couple of tattoos. You know what that's like. Could you imagine someone getting a ginormous picture of your face across their body?
No, man, it's ultimate cringe. Like it's like, come on, man.
Bobby, the guy
come
might
on.
see this. Come on.
I hope he
It's
gets a sticker
awful.
jersey, because I heard that Josh told him he would get him something, and then he wouldn't get in touch with him or answer his DMs or something.
Wait,
so I hope he gets a
this guy-
jersey, but yeah.
Where's this guy from? Like, did you see the writing at the bottom? Was that like Czech or something?
Yeah, it's got to be one of those areas. Yeah, I didn't look up his address.
So some Eastern European country. Let's just leave it at that. Right?
I don't know, man.
From the Iron Curtain.
Like, if you threw a tattoo up here and it was my face, I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool," and then walk away and be like, "That's not cool." But like this, I mean, he did the whole stomach meth. Like, this is aggressive.
You can't.
Well,
You can't.
I
change
just think
this.
no, you can't. No, it's there. It's unfortunately there for good. I mean, for me, I would send him a package. You know, I would be very flattered.
Oh, yeah.
And I would send him a jersey, a stick. I mean, I don't care what the cost on the shipment was. I mean, someone's got your whole face, life size, and I've got a big melon, so that would take up the entire torso. I would have to take care of the kid. Like, that's incredible. I would even probably reimburse him.
Look at the distance between the eyebrows to the hairline. Like, you could land a 747 on this forehead. I mean, why is it so big?
Dude, that is a lot of.
That
is a lot. That's a lot of forehead. I was going to comment on that earlier, but I'm like, ooh, I don't know if Josh has a big forehead, so I didn't want to go there. You know.
Yeah,
no,
I
don't
think that there would be a restraining order.
I don't think Josh.
No,
I don't know. You got to get something sent to this guy, though. Yeah, you got to get
those eyes. Those eyes are like squished down closer to the mouth. Like, that area is very compressed. There's not a lot of symmetry there. Anyway, it's all good.
He looks cranky.
Well, and he's got to work. Maybe do some flies. He's got to tighten up that chest a little bit.
This is my summer, Matt. This is my summer before picture. This is Bobby circa 2012, before the summer program kicks in. Just been burying it for a month after the season.
That's Bobby at the end of July, where he goes, "Oh shit, I got to get on a bike now."
Yeah. Oh, I got to start throwing some salads back.
So this turned into a roast. Is essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
This poor kid.
Yeah.
All right.
Get off me. Yeah, get back to this guy. Get off me.
Okay, so we're moving on. Friday, Meatloaf passed away. Bat Out of Hell, as we all know, sold over 100 million albums. If there's one album that you're going to take with you to, I don't know, an island with your record player, what's it going to be?
Oh, Bobby, you go first, man. This is hard.
So when I started to think about this yesterday, my musical tastes are a little different than most, but going back to if I had to listen to the album, and my wife just bought me a record player, so I started collecting albums. And one of the first ones I bought was Nirvana, Nevermind, with, Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom.
Yeah, great album. One of the best.
Bars on there. Yeah. So that would be a very serious contender, along with anything by Ray LaMontagne and James Bay for me. Some of them, the more acoustic type stuff for me. I'm a big Ray LaMontagne fan. I've seen him live, and I loved him. So I have everything he's ever done. I think it would be hard pressed for me not to take one of his albums, his earlier ones. Trouble.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So that leaves me with
Meth.
So I've got two. I'm always switching up, and I've always got a new album that I'm listening to. But like, for me, I always go back to like the OGs and I would say Ride the Lightning by Metallica. It's one of their older ones that has like For Whom the Bell Tolls on it and stuff like that. And then I would say 36 Chambers, Wu-Tang. So those are my two classic rap and rock that I always go to. And then everything else is sprinkled in.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
What, Wally,
All right,
do you got one, or are you just asking questions? You don't get the way
Wally
in?
listens to what does Wally even listen to? I don't even know what he listens to. Kenny Loggins?
So I would take Bat Out of Hell. No, I would take Bat Out of Hell.
Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
I think I have 5 Meatloaf albums. Or AC/DC's Back in Black.
That's okay. Yeah. See, that's a classic as well. But so you are like a legitimate Meatloaf fan.
Yeah.
See, that Meatloaf, like for me, because obviously I know a bunch of the songs. For me, I just remember him as Bob in Fight Club with like the big breasts. He's like the guy. Like, do you guys remember him and Edward Norton being like buddies at the AA meetings? Yeah. And he had like these big, and he would always like caress him. Anyway, it's a random fact. Sorry. I'll stop talking.
See that coming.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap up the show, but I'm just holding Bobby on for one last second while we give away our Gong Show winner. And you guys can comment on this picture, by the way. So we wanted you guys to send in your favorite hockey or your favorite sports moment because everything's been shut down. So we just wanted to relive some former glory. We're giving away a Gongshow Puck Luck game, courtesy of our friends at GongshowGear.com. As both of you gentlemen are well aware.
What is this music?
And so, I don't know. Talk to Jer at Gong Show. He'll tell you because he picked it up. Okay. Our winner of this event is Simon Leduc for this photo. And it says, celebrating 2015 New Year's Eve on a road hockey game. Amazing positioning with that Cooper stick. He's facing a 90-degree angle of the net. I'd like to know what kind of goaltending this is.
I don't know. I'm just distracted by this Irish techno music. I don't know what to think here.
Yeah. I gotta text Jared the moment we get off. I'm texting Jared, but yeah, This is clearly a photo shoot. This guy was not playing any hockey today. That's a fact. But he did win. He did win, and congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something. Anyway, I appreciate his candor of that photo. I hope the guy scored. Okay. Anyway, that's I appreciate Bobby's you stopping by. We are now going to work in an intro with you in it. So you'll now be part of the show. We just got to get you to continue to come on. Okay, good. And if I will say, I want to point out one thing. Twice you've referenced that I've made a rundown that you've read, which is more than Meth has done in the entire 82 shows we've done so far.
Meth just comes in live and wings it.
He's like, what are we going to talk about today?
I don't read the script. The script reads me.
No.
I got a Tropic Thunder reference in there.
I like that. That's
okay.
But yeah, I read it. I'll be back next time. You guys let me know.
Perfect. I look forward to it. So we will see you sometime soon. Take care, Bobby. And
thanks, Bobo.
Thanks for stopping by in the chat. And that's the Wally and Methot Show once again.